Hey guys, hey, what's going on? Hey, wanted to first of all, for those of you who may be new to this channel or whatever, I talk about a lot of stuff. Lately, I've been just talking about relationships and things you should know, things you kind of want to know as a male growing up nowadays, right? My name's Rich. I'm 50 years old. I've been around a long time. I had to learn the hard way. I grew up pretty much without a dad. I mean, my dad was there, but he was pretty non-existent in my life. So this whole channel is about just trying to learn how to be a dude in the world today, right? And the reason why I'm doing this is because what I've noticed is that a lot of men grow up and they go one of two directions, right? They just kind of fluster their way through life and kind of figure it out as they go. And there's guys that are wannabe alphas that kind of go through, follow the sports route and that kind of do that, but they still don't have the confidence in life to really understand what life is all about. They don't have the knowledge, that sort of thing. So they kind of flutter their way through lives. They're alphas, and they were born kind of alpha, and they kind of figure out as they go, right? But they still blunder and try to figure out. And that was kind of me, right? I mean, I was always a sports head. I always did my thing. I always hung around with a bunch of guys that I grew up with in the neighborhood, knuckleheads, learning, and in my day when I was growing up, there's a lot of gang violence. There's Bloods and Crips back then, and that's what I grew up with. And you had to kind of be able to throw hands to be able to survive. And in the late '80s, early '90s, guns and people were getting killed around me and stuff like that. It was a scary time. You know what I mean? But I had to figure it out, and I had to figure it out on my own. So that's one route that you could go, right? But I blundered. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have the confidence, that sort of thing. So I'm coming from that perspective. And then there's a whole other class, right? It's the incels that don't really know what back in my day, what I would have called the nerds, that didn't know what they were doing. But now they're running the world. I mean, they're doing their thing. But the problem is that they don't know how to function in society. They don't know situational awareness, how to deal with things, and how to live amongst everybody else. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where men are. Nobody really knows, right, how to deal with it. Nobody really knows. Like there's different areas, right? There's friendships. Nobody really knows how to deal with friendships. You just kind of go as you go, and you acquire friends as you go. And then there's different classes of friends, right? There's the friends that are your true friends that that you've known forever and that are going to be there, do or die, that sort of thing. And then there's acquaintances that you meet along the way, and you kind of hang out with here and there, and they don't truly maybe believe in what you believe in, but you guys get along and that sort of thing. And then there's the fly by night kind of people, that you run into in the gym and you talk to, you have a conversation with, you might text or contact them on social media and that sort of thing, but there's that sort of thing. And then there's the relationship thing, right? Where you get into a relationship with a woman, and I'm telling you right now, 97% of all guys don't even know what the fuck to do in that type of situation. They really don't. And that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm trying. I had to go through it. It was fucking painful, but I had to figure it out. You know what I mean? And I figured it out pretty much. There's still things that you learn and they're like, oh shit, but at 50 years old, the oh shits are very little, you know what I mean? Maybe there's something that kind of throws you off, but for the most part, I've probably seen the majority of it because I've been through some shit, you know what I mean? And that's what my channel's about. And I want to teach you guys this from my perspective. I'm not teaching you like everybody else. There's a lot of red pill guys. There's a lot of, other guys out there that are talking shit that, are saying, well, you got to do it this way. You know what? I'm not going to say that because everybody's a little bit different. And what I want you guys to do and what I had to do, right? Because I've seen a lot of red pill content. I've seen a lot of, just different types of concept. I mean, maybe purple pill, whatever, where it's a middle between blue and red, where you have that kind of balance, that sort of thing. And I took all of it and I put it in context for me. So what I want to come to you, I want to come to you as a person that's already been through it, that I'll tell you exactly what I did in certain situations and how it helped me, right? How I did it, because I had to learn all this shit on my own. So what I'm trying to minimize here is you having to learn it on your own, right? So I want to go through the pain so that you don't have to, kind of thing, right? So what I want to talk about today, guys, is I want to talk about shit my dad should have taught me, right? And I'm going to talk about it in different ways. I was doing a lot of thinking about this over the weekend because I'm teaching a little cousin. I help people, right? People come to me and they've been coming to me for years because they see my life is very different than most people, right? And I don't know, for some reason they gravitate towards me and they ask me questions, you know what I mean? So I kind of mentor them, right? And try to help them out, right? So I'm helping, a number of people out, mainly my cousin, and he's 20 years old, he's trying to figure out what he wants to do in life, and he's a lot like me in that area. I knew what I wanted to do from basically my educational standpoint. I knew I was going to always get an education. I knew college was for me. I went through college. I didn't know what I wanted to do in college, so I went a couple different routes. So let me talk about that first, right? My cousin doesn't want to go to college. It's not really for him. He's not really into it. I was tutoring him in calculus, and he was just deer in the headlights, man. He just did not want to do it, Then he told me what he really wanted to do, right? And I didn't even know it was a thing, really. I thought it was pretty interesting, though. He wants to be an underwater welder. And there's a market for that, right? I didn't know that. I thought that was pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean? Hey, do your thing. So I encouraged him. I said, look, it's clear you're not happy doing what you're doing as far as going to school, but he was listening to everybody else. He was listening to everybody kind of telling him that that's the way to go, because that's people's narrative, right? And that's what people told me too, right? But I always knew I had the mind for school. I always knew I wanted to be an engineer, and that's what I eventually became. But, I saw shows like Miami Vice and, you know what I mean? And I grew up, like I said, with a lot of knuckleheads. I saw a lot of drugs when I was growing up, so I wanted to be a DEA agent. I grew up watching Miami Vice, so I thought that shit was cool. You know what I mean? So you kind of I got off my path, right? And eventually I got back on. I went to school, became an engineer, got an MBA, and, I'm doing exactly what I want to do right now. I'm in the technical field. I design circuit card assemblies for a government contractor, and I absolutely love what I do, right? But that's few and far between, right? The majority of people out there, they get a degree and they get a job and it has nothing to do with their degree, or they don't like it. And they're sitting there at a computer desk, oh my God, I got to do this for the next 25 years. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important. And that's what I told my cousin. I think it's really important that you find exactly what it is you want to do. And, he's 20, right? And and that's the thing, right? I think my dad was really, you go to school, that's the way to do it. You know what I mean? My dad was a silent generation guy, right? It was right before the boomers. And that's boomers and silent generation, they see the value in schooling because they either never went to school or they didn't get their full, reach their, finish school or, finish college, that sort of thing, because it wasn't necessary back then, right? But now for a Gen Xer like me, school, master's degree, that was always what you needed. Now, you don't really need that. You can go get a 2-year degree and be just fine. I mean, there's 2-year degrees out there that are making 6 figures. You know what I mean? So you got to find what you want to do and what's going to make you happy. That's number one, right? And in your 20s, and this is something that my dad probably should have taught me, but he didn't know, in all fairness, right? In my 20s, I should have been really figuring it out. I should have, because in your 20s, you got time to fuck up. You know what I mean? You got time to really screw up. If you make some really big screw ups, you got time to recover. You know what I mean? For sure. I would say early to mid 30s, you shouldn't be fucking up anymore. You should already kind of figure it out, already have a path forward. The whole time that you're in your 20s, you should be saving for retirement, that sort of thing, because if you start saving, at 21, 22 years old and really get into it and put money away, and that sort of thing, when you start working, you could become a millionaire when you're my age, and, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not quite there yet, but, I'm doing okay. But these are the things my dad should have taught me, right? And that I'm trying to teach you. And that's what I'm telling my cousin right now. I said, go get your job, put money away, live on as little as you can so you can put money away so you can live better in retirement than you do now, And don't be out there buying all kinds of shit. Nobody cares, man. You know what I mean? I always thought, okay, to get the girls, to get friendships and all that sort of thing, you got a high sign, you got to be driving the nicest cars, you got to have the nicest house, all this shit, right? That was what was beat into my head as I was growing up, because I listened to a lot of rap music and shit, you know what I mean? And they were high siding, wearing chains and all that stuff. I wasn't one of those guys, but they sold it as, if you wanted to get girls and shit like that, you had to be well off and shit, right? So, I did everything I could to, and I did dirt and, trying to hustle and shit like that, but let's get down to brass tacks, right? Nobody gives a shit. And the girls that you want to attract, that want the money, are not the girls you want to attract, right? Those are the kind of girls that you just want to, get down with, and get away from later on. I'm telling you right now, man, there's no longevity in that shit, right? So in your 20s, my position is, right, and from experience, I'm talking from experience, guys, right, and something my dad should have taught me is, in your 20s, you should be really trying to figure it out. The earlier you can figure it out, the better. If you have a plan for your life, and always have a plan in everything that you do. This may sound really boring, right? But I'm all about fairways and greens. If I'm playing golf, I want to be in the fairway, on the green, and putting. That's it. You know what I mean? But when I was young, I wanted to hit the ball 300 yards. And I didn't give a shit if it was right or left. I just wanted to hit it 300 yards just so I could say that I hit it 300 yards. Well, now I'm hitting it maybe 250, 260, right down the middle. And you know what? I'm in the fairway. So that's the way you want to play life, guys. That's really honestly the way you want to play life. You want to be boring. And who cares what people say? It's the boring people that are going to be stable, that are going to be millionaires in the later part of life, right? It's like exercise, right? Exercise, everybody's looking for this really, 2-week solution that you're going to lose all your weight. Oh, I'm going to go on keto and I'm going to go to no carbs and I'm going to lose all this weight. And, it's not sustainable, right? It's not sustainable. Dieting is a marathon, not a sprint. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. And that's the way you kind of have to think about it, right? I didn't think about it that way. Nobody told me. My dad didn't tell me. He didn't have the foresight, right? My mom didn't teach me either, you know what I mean? Because they didn't know, in all fairness. And it's okay. But that's why I'm here, guys. I'm trying to tell you the mistakes that I made because I don't want you to make those mistakes. So in your 20s, what you really want to do, in your teens, if you're mature enough to figure that out, when you're in high school or 18, 19 years old, then more power to you, right? But what you want to do, you want to say, okay, I want to be an engineer. And talk to people. Okay, how do I get there? What's the path to that, right? And I want to be this kind of person, right? I like LL Cool J, right? I've always liked LL Cool J. I've always been a fan. I liked his mentality. I read his books. He's a solid fucking guy. I mean, just all around. You know what I mean? I liked his. I was never a rapper. I'm not a rapper by any means, right? But I liked his style, right? And he was always in shape. He always took care of himself. He was always ripped. You know what I mean? And then when he got older, in his late 40s, he got really ripped. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh shit, dude. So the point that I'm trying to make here, right? And now, I like Joe Manganiello. You know what I mean? I think people have told me that I resemble him, right, without the beard. But I like his work ethic. He's worked really hard. I like guys like that are, Marky Mark. You know what I mean? Those guys work hard off camera. You know what I'm saying? The Rock. You know what I mean? Those guys, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I grew up watching Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? I mean, in the 80s, he was a big deal. Terminator, Commando, all that shit, right? I also used to wake up Saturday mornings and watch Jack LaLanne. I don't know if you guys remember Jack LaLanne. Look him up, man. The guy was 90 over there, just muscles, just ripped. You know what I mean? So I grew up watching that sort of thing, right? So my point being, right, is model yourself after somebody that you idolize, right? Or that you feel that you can idolize. I don't idolize anybody, right? Because there's the only person I really idolize is God. You know what I mean? And that's part of me, right? I mean, I'm pretty religious guy. I'm not going to throw it all out there for you guys. I mean, you do what you want to do. But, I'm going to put it always in terms of my Catholic faith. There is nobody above me except Jesus Christ, right? And God. So, I modeled myself in a direction. Okay, I like LL Cool J. I like Joe Manganiello. Joe Manganiello is actually younger than me. And then, all these other guys, Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff, you know what I mean? So I took a little bit of everybody. I kind of studied them, right? And their disciplines. And I put it in context for me, right? A lot of people say, oh, I really love this guy. I'm going to be exactly like him and this and that. Well, maybe there's some things that just don't fit. You know what I mean? Like Marky Mark, he works out at 2:00 in the morning. Maybe that's not you, and maybe that doesn't fit your lifestyle, and that's okay. But take the things that you really appreciate of a Marky Mark or Joe Manganiello or LL Cool J or whatever, and put that in context for your life, right? And become that person. You may not become them, but you will become you, right? That taking into account, you putting everything that you've learned, right? You become a different portion of you, right? You become the best part of you. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what you have to do, right? There was people out there, I wanted to be successful. I always wanted to be successful. And there's no one person that I would say that I wanted to be like, as far as being successful. I just knew that I wanted to make a certain amount of money, because I was very aware of what, because I saw my parents fight a lot, you know what I mean, about money. And I was just like, I want to make as much money as I can to where I can live comfortable and not have to worry about money. You know what I mean? That's one variable that you can take out, right? And those are things that you want to do, you want to establish at the very beginning. Find out who you want to be like, who you want to be in life, right? Find out how much money you want to make, and find a path to get there, right? So you have a goal. What's the best path to that goal? And that's what you have to figure out, right? And that you should spend the majority of your 20s trying to figure that shit out, right? Same thing with getting married and your ideal mate, right? When I was dating, when I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted. I knew what I thought I wanted, right? And I knew what my parents were telling me, the kind of woman my parents were telling me, right? Well, like I told you, my dad was pretty non-existent. He was just above a stool sitting at a fucking bar at the house, right? He didn't really interject. I mean, he taught me, he put the golf club in my hand, he put a baseball bat in my hand. He taught me how to catch, and how to field and all that sort of thing. But he didn't teach me life. You know what I mean? My mom did her best to kind of teach me life and whatever she could, especially when I had questions. But she always taught me from a woman's perspective, So dating, I would ask my mom, but she would teach me from a woman's perspective. She wouldn't teach me from a man's perspective. My dad didn't have a lot of experience dating, and neither did my mom. They just kind of got married out of school, and that was it. And they were just, it was just those two. Well, that's unrealistic, right? So I went out and I started dating, and the first woman that, there was women that I got involved with in high school, and I thought I was going to get married to them out of high school and that sort of thing, because that's what my parents did, right? I was stupid. I didn't know. But then I knew that wasn't the case. I got cheated on a lot in high school, and you know what I mean? And then I got into college, and that's when I started playing the game a little bit more, But then when I was 24, I met this woman that I was like, I thought she was my ideal. I mean, she fit right into that box that I had created in my head, right, of the ideal woman. Well, I ignored everything else. I didn't pay attention to the red flags that were out there, right? And that was a problem. So 4 years later, after I dated her, I was going to ask her to marry me, not paying attention to the red flags, mind you, right? I would have been stupid. I would have been divorced by now. You know what I mean? Easily. So she, I came to her, and I had a talk with her, and she goes, well, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. So I never asked her to marry me. We went our separate ways shortly after that. And you know what? I look back on that now, and that was a blessing, man. That was, oh, God damn. That was such a blessing, And from that point on, I started really paying attention to red flags. I started really paying attention to, everything that was out there. And, after her, I fucked around. I dated, you know what I mean? I had a good time and this and that. Then I got into a relationship when I was like maybe 32, 33 years old. I moved in with somebody that was a fucking fiasco because I hadn't sold my wild oats yet. You know what I mean? I was still fucking around. I was still doing my thing. And then I got into a relationship at 35 with a friend of mine. I talked to her a little bit about it in my videos. She had 2 kids, and we had a really good experience together because she was essentially my best friend. And if you want to learn more about that, go to those videos. But that didn't work out. And at 40, I'm over here flailing, trying to figure out life. You know what I mean? And that's when I started diving into the red pill and starting to really understand, a lot of the red pill philosophies and, mentality and that sort of thing. And I'm not talking about red pill the way it is now, because I think it's just taken a really bad turn. It's gotten a really bad rep. You know what I mean? I don't like a lot of philosophies, and I talked a little bit about that in the calibration video that I did, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago. Because, you got guys out there like Andrew Tate, and you got, other guys out there that are just poisoning that shit. And, I believe with the baseline of what red pill, the fundamentals of red pill, the shit that Rollo Tomasi teaches, the main shit that Rich Cooper talks about, but I like Rich, don't get me wrong, but he comes off as a little angry sometimes, you know what I mean? And, he's a good dude. They're all good guys. Do your thing. I'm not bashing anybody by any means, but the person that I found that has a really nice balance is Corey Wayne. You know what I mean? I would consider him red pill. He probably doesn't want to hear that, right? But I would, because he's in his own frame. He's taking care of business. You know what I mean? He's got his purpose in life. He's on his tracks, right? And he doesn't let anybody knock him off his tracks. And that's really the fundamental of red pill philosophy is, right? Is you being a man. It's the old school way of thinking, right? A man is a man. You do your thing. You stay on your frame, and you have a goal in life. You get to that goal, and don't let anybody knock you off that, right? Don't listen to any of these blue pill fuckers trying to sell you a narrative that, happy wife, happy life. You have to get married. You have to have children. You have to, misery loves company. And that's the thing. A lot of men out there, in my experience, a lot of men have come at me. Well, how come you're not married yet? How come, what's wrong with you? I was hearing that shit from 28 till about, I would say 44, right? People were telling me, how come you're not married? What's going on? Is something wrong with you? How come you don't have any kids? What's wrong with you, right? But now what I'm hearing, what I'm hearing is that, oh my God, you're the smartest son of a bitch out of all of us. Because I have friends that are getting divorced that are having problems with their children because of the world today. Social media and all that stuff is changing the world, right? And that's why I'm here, guys, is because I want you guys to get the real deal, what works. Because over me screwing up and figuring it out and going through life, I don't want you guys to go through this. If you don't have to, learn from somebody who knows. And, I'm going to put it in perspective for you. A lot of these other cats, like Rollo Tomasi and, Rich Cooper, they're teaching you the theory behind it. Aaron Cleary, they're teaching you the theory behind it. Aaron Cleary kind of puts it in perspective, and talks about things that happened to him, and stuff like that. But the other ones, they're teaching you the theoretical aspects of it. And, I want to teach you where I screwed up and what I did to fix it and what I did moving forward. You know what I mean? And what I would have done if somebody could have shown me, right? my dad never showed me stuff. You know, my mom would help me as much as she could. But bottom line is, I was always going somewhere else to look for a dad figure, right? A male influence in my life. And there was a couple people that came into my life that were male influences. Like I dated this woman when I was about 18 years old. She was 15. Their parents blessed it, so it was good. You know, no crazy shit like that. But her dad became another father figure to me, and he taught me things like, you know, treat people well, treat people the way you want to be treated, take care of people in life. Like, you know, I remember one time we were on the driving range, you know, and this young kid was picking up golf balls, and you know, he grabbed me and he goes, "Well, check this out." So he took $5 out of his pocket and he goes, "Hey man, you know, can you give me some balls?" You know, he goes, "Well, you know, you got to get them from the machine over there." He goes, "Well, you know, you can't just give me some balls, you know," and gave him $5-10 or whatever. And he said, "You know what? Yeah, here you go, man." Gave a shit ton of balls. There's no way we could have hit that many balls, right? But what that taught me is that you take care of people, right? And they will reciprocate. You know what I mean? And even if they don't, that's okay. But you take care of people, and you put yourself out there and you become the good guy, right? And eventually the universe comes back on you and gives you the same. You know, it may not be that particular moment, but in due time it will. You know what I mean? And those are things that my dad didn't teach me. You know, my dad taught me how to fix things. He taught me, you know, sports and that sort of thing, which I'm very grateful for. But he just didn't teach me life. You know, my dad did do some things. You know, he was a real friendly guy. He would always be out there talking to everybody. You know, not super charismatic, but you know, but people liked him. You know what I mean? And that kind of taught me something. And those are the things that I kind of paid attention to. You know, so the earlier you guys can learn that kind of shit, the better off. So in summary, right? I mean, those are some stories that I want. That's the picture that I wanted to kind of frame for you guys. But bottom line, right? In your teens and 20s, you want to be figuring out life. You want to date as much as possible and date different women to figure out exactly what you want, right? But don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, just because a woman gives you the time of day, it doesn't mean that's going to be the one you're marrying, right? And that's what happened to a lot of my friends. Just because a beautiful woman gave them the time of day, man, they settled down like that and they locked her down. Well, no, you know what? You should be spending your teens and 20s making yourself a better person. And if that person comes in, great. Have fun with them. You know, just be good to them. Be upfront, be honest with them. And if they go off and you know, cheat on you or whatever, who cares? Just keep moving. And that's what you got to do, right? Just keep moving. But better yourself, right? Become the person that you want to be so that you can build that confidence, right? Confidence is the number one thing that women are attracted to. That is the number one thing. If you are confident, if you can go into the world and be confident and be not afraid, right? Don't give a shit what anybody thinks. You just be you. If you're a gamer and you like to sit around playing video games, own that shit, right? If you're short and bald-headed, own that shit. I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people out there that just, you know, they fold under, you know, somebody telling them, well, you know what? You know, people used to tell me that I had a big jaw and that I look like fucking Jay. I don't give a fuck, right? You know what I mean? Now I'm 50 years old and I think I look pretty goddamn good for 50 years old, right? Because I've taken really good care of myself. So who gives a shit? People are gonna always test you and try to knock you off try to knock you down, right? Because misery loves company. Because they're down, they want to knock you to their level. Don't let them. That's the part of being red-pilled, alpha, bad motherfucker, right? Is don't go out there puffing your chest and be like, oh, I'm the best. No. It's a quiet samurai guy that is sitting in the corner, working out, doing his thing, chugging to life and beating to his own drum. You know what I mean? Those are the guys that people are attracted to, right? Because when I go to the gym, I'm not over there puffing out my chest. I'm not over there trying to show my muscles or nothing like that. I just go to the gym. It's therapy for me. I'm actually, when I'm in the gym, I'm thinking about shit, right? I'm thinking about my life. I'm thinking about, where I want to go. I still have a plan for where I want to go, right? I'm thinking about that shit. I'm not thinking, I don't give a shit who's in the gym. You know what I mean? So that's what you should be doing in your teens and 20s. You should be figuring it out. Be focused in your goals, man. Become the person that you want to become, and don't give a shit what anybody else says. Do what you want. If you don't want kids, if you don't want to get married, own that shit. That's all there is to it, right? And then live your life in such a way that is the true you, right? I've always stayed true to myself. That's one thing that I can say. I never sold out, right? To anything, to that narrative that everybody else is talking about. I never sold out to that shit, right? There was ways, there was reasons why I got into relationships. And I talked to you guys about that, right? I never felt comfortable in a relationship because I always felt like I had to give myself up. Well, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not sacrificing any part of my life because I love my life. I love who I am. I love looking at the guy in the mirror every single day. And that's the way I want you guys to feel, right? So own it, guys. Whatever you guys want to be, just own it. That's all I can tell you, because that's going to give you confidence. That's going to give you the okay in your eyes to be who you want to be. You don't need okay from your friends. You don't need okay from, your true friends will like who you are, right? Your parents will like who you are, right? That's all that fucking matters. If you like who you are, that's really what matters. So spend your teens and 20s trying to figure that out, right? And then when you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, the older you get, you're really not going to give a fuck. Because at 50, I really don't give a shit what anybody thinks, right? And it's very freeing. I'm telling you right now. In my 40s, I didn't really give a shit either. But the thing is that you should be able to build your confidence by 30, maybe 35 years old, and have true 100% confidence. Because you're going to be learning. It's going to take you years to learn, right? To figure shit out. But figure it out, right? Think about the person that you want to be with. The person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Think about the person you want to be, and don't let anybody knock you off that goal, right? Think about your career. What kind of career do you want, right? Don't let anybody knock you off that goal. I remember giving up relationships because women got mad because I was over there studying. No, dude. I got to study. You know what I mean? I'm on my goal. I'm on my path. Respect that or get the fuck out. And I'm still that way. I'm still 100% that way, guys. So that's the shit that my dad should have taught me. You know what I mean? Watch YouTube videos, become a good cook, right? A good cook, somebody who knows how to take care of shit around their house, somebody who knows how to fix their car. Become a handyman. No basic man type shit. You know what I mean? Know how to fix stuff, right? Don't just call somebody to come fix it. If I really got into a situation, I could fix whatever I needed to fix. Do I want to? No. I can pay somebody because my time is more valuable now, right? And I have the money to be able to pay somebody to do stuff, right? So, but that's a trade-off that I've made over the years, right? And now I'm in a financial position where I can make those types of decisions, right? And I put my time and effort into things that I value and that are going to give me the biggest return on investment. You know what I mean? So if I'm dating somebody, am I going to date somebody that I really want to be with? You know what I mean? Or am I going to date somebody just because it's something to do? If it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. So you guys got to kind of have to think in that direction, right? So think about your life. Sit and think about it. If you have to write it down, right? Think about the characteristics that you want in an ideal mate, right? And I'm telling you, if you really sit down and you write this shit down, okay, this is the way I want to be. This is what I want in a mate. This is the kind of career I want, right? If you write that shit down, it manifests itself into your life, right? Because you're putting it out there in the universe, right? And you're essentially telling God, or a higher power, right? If you don't believe in God or Jesus, right? You're telling a higher power what you want in life. And if you write it down, it becomes true. I'm telling you guys, it works every single time. So think about that, right? This is the shit that my dad should have taught me. I really wish that somebody would have, because I would have been a lot better off at a younger age, The other thing too, and I mentioned it early on, right, is start saving for retirement as early as you can. Those are the things, those are the basics. Those are the basics, guys. But build that confidence. Build that confidence. Start learning. I'll talk a little bit about friendships in another video, you know what I mean? Because I've had a lot of experience with friendships. And then I'll talk, more detail on relationships too. Because those are my two really expert things. And then I'll talk about education as well and what I did as far as education. I made some mistakes there too. But I really want you guys to really think about, and it's not too late. If you're in your 30s and you're listening to this, do it now. Do it now. To figure it out. Become who you want to become. Get in the gym. Take care of yourself. Just do the right things in life, man. And it's going to come back and it's going to pay you dividends. I guarantee you. All right? All right, guys. Hey, just wanted to, real quick one. Well, it's not that quick. It's 40 minutes, right? But I've been thinking about this a lot. And I was like, you know what? You guys need to know this, man. Because I just had a talk with my cousin about it. And, I don't want you guys to suffer through what I've suffered through. So, take this to heart, guys, because this is a lot of experience talking. All right? All right, guys. Hey, you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week. Later.